Yeah. Yeah, this is a really interesting topic, seeing how to bring two things that seem so separate. A practice that is based in quiet and reflection, and entering inward in a society that's very externally goal-oriented, with lots of sense impressions and stimulation, and how to kind of balance those, the internal and the external. I think as human beings in our evolution, we've this generation and this time is not normal. Our ancestors had very different environments that they're living in, and very different stresses to deal with. And so we're kind of stepping into this new world, and maybe not equipped to deal with all the stress and the pressures and the stimulation that we get. Probably the most stimulated generation, I imagine, both visually and auditorily. And they were doing some studies on the amount of information that people take in and process in a day, and just how overwhelming that is, and how we're just not really equipped to be able to function well with that much information and stimulation. And that's been my own experience living in the world. After college, I taught English in Japan for a year, and that became very apparent. In some ways, it was really nice teaching in Japan, because I felt like I was free. Like I could find my way back to my house, and that was about it. Like, it was like I could get to work and to my house. But I didn't understand how anything worked. I didn't understand body language, and I couldn't understand what anyone was saying. So I was like a 3-year-old, walking around, maybe even less. So in some ways it was really nice, because you get much less stimulation, because you overhear conversations, but it has no meaning, there's no, you're not processing it. So there's a lot of quiet in that. But then also stress with work and working overseas is difficult. And really saw I wasn't going where I wanted to go. And that's been apparent to me a few times in my life. I always get reminded when I'm going in a direction I don't want to go. It becomes very clear for me. And I've always been proud of myself when I've been able to take those steps to stop that. And I've done that a couple times in my life. And one was in Japan, which is why I brought it up. I was teaching English there. And I don't know if anyone's worked overseas, but everything's about 2 times as hard, just like figuring out how to mail something home, like where do you find a cardboard box, and how do you put it together, and where do you get the stamps, and just figuring out the whole system. Everything just takes so much more energy to get things done. And I was very lucky, because near my house, it was maybe a 10-minute walk, was this like 500-year-old Zen garden, just gorgeous rock formations and waterfalls and trees. And just being in that busyness, I set that intention, that goal. I was like, okay, I'm going to go. This is like, that sort of environment is really what I want. And that sort of way of being is really what I enjoyed. Because Japan is beautiful in a lot of ways, but I really like old Japan. Like the new modern Japan with all, you walk through Tokyo and there are just LCD screens on every building, and it's like 5 stories high LCD screens, like whoa, Yakihara, with the electronic city. It's where they test all the electronics there. And depending on how they sell in Akihabara dictates whether they export them. So there's this huge tech influx in Tokyo and in Japan, and all this suits and business, and no one talking to each other on the street. And so modern Japan I found really cold and stressful, But that old, quiet Japan, the tea ceremonies, the Zen gardens, those things I really was attracted to, and put my energy and focus into that. And I really believe in that. What your intention is, how you set it, and how you focus really leads you in a direction. And it did for me. And I think had I not made that intention to go to that Zen garden, at least 3 or 4 times a week, if not every day, and water those seeds, then I wouldn't be here now. I wouldn't be in a monastery. I wouldn't be meditating, because that led to everything else. Just going to that Zen garden and watering those seeds, those peacefulness, the old Japan. That led me later in my travels to go to Plum Village, what Thich Nhat Hanh was, and stay there for 3 months. And staying there for 3 months watered that for me to stay there for another year. And then watered what I'm doing now with Wake Up and Deer Park. So just setting that intention and taking those first small steps and just really being like, okay, this is really what I want. And I'm willing to put some